Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We're so excited to have our special guest speaker, Ellen Holloway, who will be talking about a very important topic in supporting couples on using and choosing natural family planning. Right now, everyone is in listen only mode. I will unmute everyone towards the last 5 to 10 minutes of this session if you choose to ask a question. I'm going to turn my video off right now and let Ellen take it away. So again, Ellen, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you here.
Thanks so much, Ashley. I am super excited to be talking to you guys today. My name is Ellen Holloway. I am a natural family planning advocate. I have been a Sympto Pro instructor for a couple of years now, but I really focus on advocating for natural family planning across the board, not just one particular method. And I wanted to start out by telling you a story. And this is my story, but I've also heard this story from countless other people about natural family planning. So, my husband and we went to a marriage preparation retreat. It was a whole weekend retreat, and there were tons of topics covered. There was incredible information shared. There were great speakers. My husband, or my future husband at the time, and we learned a ton about each other. And Sunday morning rolls around and we are exhausted. We've been, learning and growing and praying and doing all sorts of things all weekend. And then comes the NFP talk. The priest gets up there to tell us about the theology behind NFP, gives us some resources that we can look into, and, gives the basic NFP talk. What did we do after that weekend? We did not look into NFP because there was too much packed into that weekend. There was so much information. And then we were being presented this brand new thing that we had barely ever heard about before, natural family planning. And suddenly we were given some information that we could look up, and we were supposed to figure this out all on our own, with it being this brand new thing that we had never heard of before. Um, I do remember looking into the materials that we had gotten, but it was just too confusing. There were like several different methods on this piece of paper and a bunch of different websites, and I didn't know anything about it other than this maybe 45-minute presentation that we had. Fast forward to a couple of months into my husband and I's marriage, we had not chosen to go the route of natural family planning. We had chosen the route of contraception, and things got hard very, very quickly. Um, and I attribute a lot of that to the fact that I wasn't really set up for success with natural family planning. There is a huge gap when it comes to marriage preparation programs and couples actually using or learning natural family planning. And that gap looks a little different depending on the program. So, a lot of programs, I think the majority of programs that I see, marriage preparation programs, have some sort of a requirement for an introduction to NFP, which is great. It's great to require that. But if that requirement is simply watching an online video or going to a live talk, there is a massive gap between learning about NFP and actually learning a method of NFP and choosing it. And I'll go into a little bit more of what that gap is, but I want to explain a couple of other types of programs. So, like probably the second most common program that I see is that a full course of instruction is needed as part of the marriage preparation program. There is still a massive gap even when a full course of instruction is required. And here's why: is if we go straight from marriage preparation and then say, here, go take a course of NFP, and there has not been adequate introduction to why the church teaches it, what fertility science is, the efficacy of it, as well as helping that couple navigate which method is going to be the best fit for them. If we haven't done all of those things before sending them off to an NFP instructor, we have a huge gap, and there is a very low chance that they're actually going to use that method of natural family planning that they learned. The reason is either they were forced into it with no why behind it, so they just really don't care. I myself, as an instructor, I have had to teach those couples who sit there arms crossed with no interest in the class. And those are the hardest couples because no one took the time to really introduce them to the why. And I think a lot of times in marriage prep as well, there is this misunderstanding that the NFP instructor is giving them that why. But here's the thing, and I know this as an NFP instructor myself. There is so much information about fertility science that needs to be packed into some very short sessions. I mean, the SymDoPro model has about 3 2-hour sessions roughly. That has to be packed in there, that there's barely any time to really dig into the why and answer those specific questions. And a lot of other methods don't necessarily have that component in them of a church teaching and things like that, because they are the role of the NFP instructor, the fertility awareness instructor, is to teach the method of fertility awareness, not necessarily teaching that why. So we've got this gap in these two different types of programs. And I would say the third other type of program is just that an NFP introduction or anything just isn't required at all, which I think we're really missing something if that is not something that is part of the marriage preparation program. An introduction to NFP should absolutely be required. Okay, so I've spent a lot of time building the problem for you guys. We know from a study several years ago that roughly 2% of Catholics actually use natural family planning. And I would say the majority of the reason why that is because we have not been adequately evangelizing our couples when they come into marriage prep and helping them in understanding not only the why, but also in what the next steps are in how to sign up for a class and actually use that class, and then supporting those couples after they've chosen NFP, because it's not an easy lifestyle and it's completely countercultural. So, how do we adequately evangelize the couples that are coming in? Well, how did Jesus evangelize? He evangelized by accompaniment. And accompaniment is really the key here. We can have the best introduction to NFP talk ever. We can just have this beautifully scripted talk that talks about theology of the body and humana vitae and goes into the beautiful gift of life and the image of man and wife when they come together and how they're imaging the Trinity and the relationship that God wants to have with us. We can share about all of the different methods. We can have an incredible talk. But if we're not helping our couples go from A to B, we are leaving this wide open gap. So that gap is why I created the program NFP Basics. So what NFP Basics is it is basically an add-on module to any marriage preparation program. And it covers an introduction to natural family planning, but it also involves this accompaniment part that I'm talking about. So let me dig into a little bit of what that looks like. All right. So here's what NFP Basics looks like for the couples. They sign up and watch a video. All of NFP Basics is virtual because this is a program that is nationwide. So actually, technically, it is international. We have had a couple of couples from Canada and Africa. Fun stuff. So the couples sign up and they watch the introductory video. After they watch the video, they're given access to fill out surveys. We have a survey for the men and a survey for the women. This is basically to confirm that they watched the video because, of course, if it's not live and in person, we can't necessarily confirm that they were sitting there watching it. So we have a couple of questions making sure that they did watch the video and understand it. And then we ask them a couple of questions and kind of get an idea of where they're at on the spectrum of, I love NFP, sign me up, or this is crazy and sounds like a total joke and I don't want anything to do with NFP. Once we find out where they're at on the spectrum, once they fill out that survey, they then schedule and attend a coaching session with an NFP Basics coach. These coaches have been trained in really some of the most common questions that come up when it comes to NFP. They've been trained on how to answer those questions and those most common objections as well. But the meat of what they're trained in is how to help a couple assess which method is going to be the best fit for them. This is a huge problem that I see in marriage preparation programs is that a diocese won't necessarily have all of the methods represented in their instructor base. And maybe they only have one or two methods. Not every method works for every woman. In the work that I do, I host a podcast about natural family planning and Catholic sex and intimacy. I come across hundreds of women who come to me and say, I thought NFP didn't work for me because I started with this method and that wasn't a good fit for me. So there is a need to make sure that when we are guiding these couples toward a method and toward instruction of a full course of natural family planning, we need to make sure that we're actually guiding them toward a method that's going to be a good fit for them. And maybe there's a couple methods that will be a good fit for them, and that's fine, and they can choose from those. But there is a big difference between somebody who thrives in Creighton and somebody who thrives in Billings, even though those are both mucus only methods. There is a massive difference between the type of person who's going to fit well in those two different methods. And then the same goes for a symptothermal method or a symptohormonal method. There's a couple of different categories of symptohormonal methods. There's Boston Crosscheck and Marquette. There's FEM. Those are kind of different categories. They focus on different aspects. So we talk with the couples, figure out a little bit, learn a little bit about their cycle, learn a little bit about their lifestyle, what they're looking for, and actually make sure that we're connecting them to the method that's going to be the best fit for them. After they have that coaching session, they then have a final survey and they receive a certificate of completion. So that is really what that process looks like for the couples who go through this program. Now, I want to share a little bit of what the video presentation looks like. So the video presentation, it's a really solid introduction to NFP. This is, I think, the best way that NFP Basics is added into a program is when nothing is currently changed from the program. So most programs already have some sort of introduction to NFP as a part of that weekend or that series of evenings. And so then this program is added on to that because there is kind of a saying out there that you need to hear something 7 times before it really clicks. I don't think that these couples can hear about NFP too much. I think it's actually good if this is something that is added in addition to what they're already learning. But the video is broken into 2 parts. We start with the theology behind natural family planning, and then we go into fertility science. And so really the video builds that case for why would we do this? Why does the church teach this? The video talks about responsible parenthood a little bit. And taking some quotes from Humana Vitae. It talks about contraception, IVF, and IUI. And then it jumps into natural family planning. We define natural family planning as a fertility awareness-based method plus prayer and discernment. Fertility awareness is that science. It's that, basic, all the principles, the rules, all of that kind of stuff. Prayer and discernment is that Catholic aspect. That's the whole working with God and helping or asking him to guide us in how we're using this knowledge, this tool of fertility awareness. So we're building in that understanding in this video, to the couples. But again, the video here is not the meat of this program. It's the one-on-one accompaniment. So then the video goes into just some cycle basics. It talks about the three main biomarkers of cervical mucus, basal body temperature, and hormone testing. It touches just briefly on this, just giving a quick overview of here's the different methods, here's the kinds of things that they track. But we don't go so deep into this in the video because this is something that the coaches are really well trained in to help kind of hone in on which method's going to be a good fit. We talk about efficacy rates a little bit in the video, and then we close out the video talking about the wedding vows. So now I want to talk to you just about some really awesome results that we have gotten from the final survey. So every couple that goes through the program has to fill out a final survey. The coolest statistic that we have from this is that 65% of respondents say that they plan to use natural family planning to plan their family. 65%. That is over half. That is absolutely incredible. When we know that roughly 2% of Catholics are using natural family planning in their marriage, if we are guiding these couples through a program to where at the end of it, 65% of them are saying, yeah, I understand why the church teaches this. I'm on board. I want to use natural family planning. That's amazing. And that's part of the reason why I am so passionate about this program. The other really cool stat that we have is that we asked them before what kind of family planning they plan to use, and 31% say that they plan to use contraception before NFP basics, and less than 3% mark that they definitely plan to use contraception after NFP basics. And that is an incredible result too. I mean, there is a difference of 28% there that we are actually reaching in and we're changing hearts and we're building that culture of accompaniment. We're supporting them. We're answering their specific questions. And the other thing that we're doing when we are sitting down with them one-on-one, even if it's just for a short amount of time, we're recognizing that they're an individual and that their situation is going to be different than anyone else's situation. And so we're able to just reach them where they are. In these big intro sessions that happen, during a marriage prep weekend, or even if it's a small group that's going through a marriage prep, in those intro sessions, nobody wants to ask questions. It's an embarrassing topic to ask questions about. Nobody wants to be that person who actually looks interested. But when we sit down one-on-one with them, they're almost forced to ask questions because we're live, we're sitting with them and we're saying, okay, so what questions do you have after watching that video, after getting that introduction? And then we just wait. We wait for them to say something. And it's just an incredible, it's so fun to get to meet these couples and work with them individually and be able to see this change. So something else that we'll go back to sharing this screen here. So big question I get is, how is this implemented? This sounds like a lot of work. I used to work in a parish. I know how parish and diocesan employees have no extra time, literally no extra time. And so when I went to create NFP Basics, I recognized the need for this to be a completely hands-off program that could easily be implemented, no matter the bandwidth of the marriage preparation coordinator. I know at a lot of parishes, that person is a volunteer. In diocese, a lot of anyone here who's listening that is working in a diocese, you probably have like 5 other hats beyond just marriage preparation that you wear. So it is as simple as sending the couples to NFP Basics. They sign up and they receive a certificate when they're finished. We take them through that whole process of the video, the surveys, and that one on one session. And then we provide them a certificate when finished. And as a marriage preparation coordinator, you can be certain that this couple really has gotten an introduction to natural family planning when you get that certificate. I know that there are a lot of other online intro classes that um, people could just sign up for and press play on the video and walk away. And you never can really know, okay, well, I have this certificate from them, but did they actually get an introduction? Did they actually understand anything? With the NFP Basics program, you can be assured, like, they have to have talked to us live. And so at the very least, we were able to talk to them live and give them some information in that way, even if somehow they got out of watching the video. Um, and so as the marriage prep program manager, or whoever that role is, you would then just receive their certificate. So it is that easy. Um, Another common question is, what's the cost of this? I know it is so important that marriage preparation programs be as least or as low in cost as possible. I know these couples, some of them get very frustrated when you add cost to things, and so we kept the cost as low as possible. It is $30 a couple. That includes everything. That is the intro video, that is the surveys, and that is the one-on-one time that we give to each one of these couples. Um, and we have a couple of options. A lot of our programs that run NFP Basics, they just send the couple straight to us, and the couples individually pay that $30. But we also have an option for parish and diocese that want to have just one cost for marriage prep. And they just include that $30 in that one cost, and we can do an invoicing option as well. So that is pretty much everything that I have. And I think we have a few minutes. If we have any questions, I would love to answer any questions.
Yeah, that was incredible. Thank you so much. I think this is an incredible resource for everyone to have, but especially parishes and dioceses. So I really appreciate you sharing this information with our audience. So I'm
Yeah.
going to unmute everyone. You still have to, the audience still, you have to click the microphone if you choose to ask a question. Um, but if not, then Ellen, feel free to pull a question out from the registration list too, because I know you received a lot of
Yes.
good
And
ones.
there were some really good questions. And I'm going to open that back up. I'll, I'll be quiet for a second if someone wants to ask a question right now. All right. So one of the questions that I saw in here that I think was really good, and I tried to answer it when I talked, but I just want to highlight this question is, you know, how best to support our couples in choosing NFP when we have no money and we have no time.
Hmm.
Um, and so that is why I created NFP Basics the way that it is, because I'm really passionate about supporting these couples and accompanying them. And I have the coaches on my staff that are also equally passionate about this. All of these coaches, they have to be Catholic, they have to be practicing NFP. Those are the two base requirements beyond the training that they go through. So they all know what it's like to practice NFP. A lot of them have experienced frustrations with NFP themselves. They've experienced, maybe an NFP failure, and they're able to kind of give their own personal testimony to that, just kind of depending on the couple, depending on the conversation.
So cool.
Um, which I think is just it's so beautiful. I think God really puts these couples sometimes into the exact right coach that they need to be speaking to. It's just really cool how it works out sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Of,
That's really
yeah,
cool.
like a couple will have a specific fear or something, and that coach has been through that exact issue, and they
Oh,
just like speak to it. It's beautiful.
that's awesome. That is really cool.
Um, but yeah, so that is why so that back to that question of just like how do we support couples when we don't have time and we don't have money is NFP Basics. That is what we're here for. We're here to support you at as low a cost as we can possibly do. And you don't have to take time to do it, right?
Hmm.
We're going to take that time to walk those couples through the process.
Awesome. That is
um
so cool.
yeah, and then another question again that I tried to answer, so I just want to kind of highlight it because I thought the question was great, is just what is it that parishes and instructors and practitioners, what is it that they need to do in order to help couples to choose NFP? And it
Yeah.
is that accompaniment. It's it's sitting down and it takes time. It takes so much time. And that's why I created an FP Basics, because if you don't have the time for that, then we'll take the time to do it. But you have to sit down what individually. It cannot be in a group setting because nobody wants to ask questions in a group
Hmm.
setting.
So
Nobody's willing
true.
to say, this is what I'm struggling with. This is my situation. But when you're one on one with them, I have heard some crazy stories from people. I mean, they're
Right.
willing to share everything when you're one on one.
So true. So true.
But yeah, so it's that one-on-one accompaniment. That is how we help couples choose NFP. That is it's when we meet them where they are and we tell them with our words or without our words, right? But when we're meeting them one-on-one, we're saying, I recognize that you're individual, that you have your own situation, and I am going to sit with you and make sure that we can make this work for you and
Hmm.
help you take those next steps.
That's awesome. Yep. And we love that approach. That's exactly what we do here at Agapè
Right,
Catholic
exactly.
Ministries too.
So this is
So
like
I
basically
think it's the
the
best.
NFT version of,
Yep.
what
I love it. That's
you're
great.
doing.
That is so awesome. So we have a few minutes left. How can people contact you? How can they reach you?
Yeah, so info at nfpbasics.com is a great email address. That's our main email address. You'll get me right now, but in a couple of months, if you reach out, you'll get someone else. Um, because we're growing, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
I'm so
Yeah,
excited
that's
that the team
great.
is growing.
Uh-huh.
Um, And if you go to nfpbasics.com, that is the public facing, like what couples would see and sign up for. But if you're interested in previewing this program, and if you, I'm happy to chat with anyone individually. But if you want to take a look at what this program looks like on the inside, um, it's a little bit longer of a URL, so I don't know if maybe there's a way to just send it to everybody or maybe put it
Sure.
in the chat or
Yeah,
something. Um,
absolutely. And this webinar was recorded and we'll send it out to everyone who attended it too. And with that, I will send out the website.
Perfect. I'm typing it into the chat.
Oh, good. Yep. So everyone can copy and paste it too. So that'll be good.
Um, so that
Perfect.
website right there, Vines in Full Bloom. Vines in Full Bloom is my uh, company that does a little bit more beyond NFP Basics. But so that will get you to an option to preview the program, and it'll give you some more of those stats that we have, and just allow you to kind of see a little bit more about what NFP Basics is.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was amazing, and thank you for all that you do. We really appreciate it and really appreciate you taking the time to share it with our audience. So, again, we'll send this presentation out to all of you. But, Ellen, thank you so much. You're incredible.
Thanks, Ashley.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.